If quitting drinking sounds scary to you, I'm going to suggest you do something else instead. This is something that worked for me. This is something that I advocate with the coaching clients that I work with. And that is that rather than trying to make a permanent decision on the spot that I'm never going to drink again, which can be a little scary, understandably, if this has become an integral part of your lifestyle over the years. And even if you don't feel like you've reached the level of alcoholism, you may have realized that a break is overdue. And so with that said, I advocate taking a break for now. What is the difference? Well, the difference is you don't have to grapple with the obstacle that the concept of forever can become. Because, when you're trying to get a successful break from alcohol, get some distance from it in your life, create some headspace, allow your body to physiologically and psychologically sort of disconnect from this habit for a time, thus allowing you the perspective that you need to really evaluate, has alcohol been serving you? Is it something that you never even needed, perhaps? So the concept of just focusing on right now, it really just allows you to only concern yourself with the present, which quite frankly is all we really have anyway in this life. What is there that is permanent? What is forever even to our finite minds? So with that said, and I will say, quick digression, I know that there are some well-respected, sober advocates, sober coaches, other thought leaders on the topic who articulate the idea that the clean break, that making the statement that I'm done, never going back, that gives you some sense of psychological peace. And this idea of just burning the boats is really the right way to go. And I do believe that makes sense on a logical level. And I think the thing that we just have to bear in mind is that an alcohol habit, an alcohol addiction, if you will, a dependence, however you want to phrase it, if you're overly fond of it and you're having struggles with cutting back or removing it from your life, then it's not an entirely logical sort of situation. I mean, human beings aren't particularly logical in a whole lot of realms anyway. And if we were, we probably wouldn't be guzzling down toxic poison by the gallon on a regular basis in the first place, which is in many ways essentially what alcohol is in final analysis. So I recognize that concept of making that firm commitment to never drinking again, I understand that it makes sense logically on paper, so to speak. However, I think in practice, and I know this was the case for me, it was scary. It sort of created a little bit of fear and uncertainty, and it created, quite frankly, a stumbling block for me. And when I was trying to gather momentum, sober momentum, for my own initial, what I call a vacation from drinking, sober vacation. So, and essentially, we really want to just be in the business of removing obstacles, because you have enough of an obstacle with trying to turn the aircraft carrier around, where your entire subconscious mind, your routine, everything in your life has been in the direction of drinking, and you're trying to unwind that and move it in a new direction, at least for some period of time. So we don't need additional obstacles. So I would argue that keeping it simple, keeping it focused on right now, there's a lot of people that talk about, I'm just not going to drink today, and there really is a lot of wisdom in that. So what I would suggest is, instead of worrying about forever, instead of saying that this is a lifetime commitment I'm making right now. And by the way, I'm sure there's people who have done it this way successfully. And if that's you, my hat's off to you. That's awesome. There's obviously, there's an old saying that methods are many, but principles are few. So the principle of trying to break free from alcohol, if that is in order for you, well, then that's the principle you want to follow. There's different methods to get there. This is the method that worked for me, that I advocate with my coaching clients, and I've seen a lot of success with it. I feel like it just lightens the load a little bit. I mean, imagine if you undertook a new fitness regimen or diet, and you're just starting out with it, and you had to make a lifetime commitment to this out of the gate. Nobody would do that. Nobody. Someone would just say, look, I'm going to set a goal for myself. I'm going to do this, use this vehicle for now to get me to that goal, and then I'll reevaluate. And I do really think that's the best approach also when it comes to taking a vacation from alcohol, where you set, and I do think that setting some amount of time as a goal for yourself also makes sense. I personally think you want to shoot for a minimum of 100 days. I think there's something psychologically satisfying about hitting triple digits. I also think that the first couple weeks or month can be very much an adjustment period anyway. So, pick out, maybe you want to do 6 months. A year is even better. And if you've only managed to eke out, a few weeks or a couple months of alcohol freedom, if you will, on your own thus far, and 12 full months just sounds like an eternity. It really isn't. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, by the time someone is grappling with this problem, a lot of times the folks I'm talking to are in their 40s, 50s, 60s. What's 1 year? I mean, it's really nothing. What were you doing a year ago? It probably feels like it was just yesterday if you really were to look at the calendar and think about, what was I doing 1 year ago? So at any rate, I think that is the key, is just focusing on right now. I'm just going to do this right now, and allow time to just slowly accumulate. And before you know it, you're going to be weeks and months and who knows, maybe even years down the path. And you really do need that distance from, we talk about being under the influence of alcohol as though it's only something that's really happening while you're drinking, while the alcohol is in your system. But the truth is, if you've developed some level of dependence on alcohol, you're under alcohol's influence whether you're drinking or not, because it has shaped you to some degree physiologically, but also, largely psychologically. And I believe that 99% of alcohol dependence is psychological. So you're under the influence of it, just in terms of your body's circadian rhythm has come to expect it at certain intervals, whether that's daily, whether that's, every so many days, on the weekends. It's affected how you see social occasions. While a lot of people drink to relieve anxiety, over time, the buildup of alcohol and its effects on our neurotransmitters in our brains can actually create anxiety where it may not have even been before. So all of these things require complete removal of the stuff from your life for some period of time, such that you can really, evaluate in hindsight, was alcohol ever serving me in any way, shape, or form? Or was this all a whole lot of hokum? Was this the emperor's new clothes? Was it a lot of social conditioning where I was taught to believe a certain way about this and what it was doing for me? And in fact, it was all complete bogus. But I can't tell you that. Nobody can tell you that. Only you can determine that for yourself. And obviously, alcohol is not going anywhere. So if at some point in time you decide that, hey, this alcohol-free living thing is just not for me, I'm not sleeping better, I'm not feeling more energetic, I'm not nicer to be around, I'm not a better spouse. If you somehow feel that alcohol improves you in all those areas, well, it's always going to be there. It's always been around, it's always going to be around. So that is how I recommend sidestepping any fear that might be associated with, quote unquote, quitting drinking, is Call it a break, call it a vacation, call it a sabbatical or a hiatus, whatever works for you. And just quit for now. Just take a break for now. And so with that said, if you're questioning your drinking, which can be a very healthy thing to do, by the way, and you want to know exactly where you stand on the alcohol drinker spectrum, I've put a link down in the show notes where you can go see a little presentation I did about the concept, and you can determine if you're comfortable with where you land or if you want to take some action. You can also check out other aspects of my website, sobermentum.com. Lots of free resources that can help you address this in your life, what I call middle-of-the-road drinking, people who are drinking more than social drinkers, but less than alcoholics. So that's the show for today. If you found anything here helpful, interesting, post a comment. Let me know what you think. If you disagree with me, I welcome that engagement as well. So with that said, I hope you have a great day. We'll catch you on the next episode.